That's some of the business we have to do. No, we get a little NBA bit up and at it. Maybe I saw Roy in the chat, and that was why. That was why I went live before lock. Looks like we're live on YouTube as well. Love to see it. Who do we have this morning? We got Matty Harrison's here, Weisberg's here. We got Command Bick, Roy Gilbert. We got a visitor as well. We are approaching 800 members. I believe we're at 798 right now. So we're 2 away, which means we're giving away that Kyrie Irving almost any day now. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Apologies for, I'm not going to apologize. I took a couple days off. That's what we did. Okay. And in the meantime, Dallas closed out Minnesota on Thursday night while I was out there watching an 80-year-old get after it. We saw Rolling Stones on Thursday night. I'm blown away. Blown away. This dude's 80, like almost a 2-hour show. And he was good. It wasn't like, how they talk about Bob Dylan right now, where you see Bob Dylan perform and it's like, it's cool that I'm seeing Bob Dylan. This is not Bob Dylan. You know what I mean? It's not like that. There was still a good show. So, and I'm not even like a diehard Stones guy. Highly recommend. So we had a good time in Massachusetts. My buddy visited this weekend in New York. Busy couple of days, but it's good to be back. Weisberg's going to join us momentarily, and then, but like just a couple of news and notes here. So, game 1 of the NBA Finals is on Thursday. I think what we're going to do is do our last official So Rare Live Before Lock on Wednesday evening. I think we're going to do it around like 6 or something like that, maybe 6:30. Now, people are like, why'd you do it on Thursday? Well, one, I work on Thursday, but I also think it might just be a little bit better to it's not like we're getting injury news out of nowhere. So we should have all the information that we need on Wednesday, and then we can kind of like ease into it for an hour without having to do that anyway. So that's going to be on Wednesday. We'll have the NBA bit throughout the week. I think the 89 Cavs, Steve's our guys back from Japan, so I think we'll fire that up this week as well. And then I imagine we're streaming every single one of the NBA Finals games. So that is that's this week. I'm sure we'll do some other weird stuff too. Like last week, for those that saw, we watched an old Kings Wolves game where Kevin Garnett went for 32 and 21 in a game 7. We're going to keep doing stuff like that. And as always, if you guys would like to see us stream certain stuff, just let us know, since we're heading into the off season. We can get a little weird with it. Our guy Sneeps has been doing some gaming on here. So anyway, stay tuned for that. I think that's it for news and notes. Let me just do a quick refresh. Who do we get? Oh, wow. Mr. Steve Genty in the chat himself. Love to see you. Keith Tucker's here. We get some visitors. If you're a visitor, join the room. And if you're watching over on YouTube, appreciate you being over there. Do me a favor, come on over to play back. All right, so we're going to break down, we're going to talk some NBA Finals. I'm also going to talk some W stuff here after I'm done with Weisberg talking some NBA Finals preview. We're going to talk a little WNBA. I've got some W takes, I think. I've been consuming a lot more W basketball, but honestly, the WNBA takes on Twitter is just insane. So I'm excited to talk about that towards the end. But Weisberg, if you want to jump on, we can break that stuff down. I'm going to switch camera view, although I kind of like this power structure here that I have.
Yeah, really. It's just all of you and just a little bit of me.
Yeah, we keep you in the fucking corner where you belong. All right, we'll switch out of that. Mike, you good Twitter thread I saw you shared. I enjoyed it. I will say you numbered that like a crazy person.
So you know what happened is I basically did it correctly. But I did it over 2 days.
Yeah.
And Twitter screwed it up on the backside. So like I'm 100% going to blame Twitter because I know that I properly numbered it.
Yeah.
But then when I saw it loaded this morning, I was like, that shit does not look
a lot of numbers.
A lot of numbers. But it's fine.
But it's good stuff. Before we do that too, I just remembered I'm wearing my my Vegas shirt, my Summer League shirt. We're gonna be out there for NBA Summer League. July 11th to the 14th. I believe that's a Thursday to Sunday. I saw our guy Patrick Coyne in the chat who's already getting excited as he and Jeb were betting on UFC stuff over the weekend, but was getting them ready for Vegas. So if you guys are going to be out there, we'll be at the Park MGM. I think I'm leaning against doing a live show this summer and just doing a couple of pop-up hangouts and a happy hour and stuff like that while we go watch basketball. So it still will be an awesome time. It just might, I don't know. I'm still on the fence about it, but we'll see. But let's I don't know, Mike. Where do you want to start with the preview here?
Ooh, so for those that didn't read the Twitter thread, a lot of this is going to be, my general thought process. I've watched a lot of tape, so I watched both the first 2 games that we saw from the Mavs and Celtics. We broadcasted those on playback for those that watch those broadcasts. But let's all right. Let's start here. I want to make sure I have all my notes correct. I guess the first question is, who do they put on Tatum and Brown? I know there's going to be a lot of focus on Luka and Kyrie, and rightfully so. And we're going to jump on the Mavs offense shortly, but like, I think the Celtics offense versus the Mavs defense is a far more compelling conversation, I think.
I mean, I just assume Derek Jones Jr. is getting one of them.
Yep.
And then PJ's getting the other one, I imagine.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look, JT's numbers have been just kind of okay in these playoffs. Like, the overall scoring numbers are actually pretty good.
Isn't he averaging like 30 and 10 right now?
30 and 10 in the conference finals, but his overall numbers are 26, 10, and 6. Shooting 29% from 3.
Yeah.
But I think the focus on the efficiency is a mistake. Because the reality is he does so much on the defensive end. And you and I haven't fully discussed this. You and I have talked about this privately. I don't think we've discussed this on a playback, so I'm just going to do this now. I fucking hate the Tatum efficiency conversation. There is nothing that bothers me more than when people are like, well, I don't know that Jason Tatum's like a top 5 guy because he's not shooting super efficiently. Yeah, look, he's never going to be as efficient as Luka or Jokic or even Giannis. You know, like they're very different kind of players. But what I will say is I think he is the best two-way player in the league right now. And I think people tend to lose what he does defensively, his ability to rebound, his ability to screen navigate, his ability to set that defense in a way that I think makes them the elite defense that they are, which, by the way, top 2 offense, top 2 defense. And he is playing better in terms of the turnovers. During the 2022 run, he averaged 4.2 turnovers a game. Right now, he's averaging 2.4, Mike. Like, he is playing better basketball than the 2022 run. Just the scoring's down a little bit.
This is all like illusions. For like the people that are not on Tatum. This isn't Tatum. Hey, sorry, I can like see somebody's at the door right now and it's throwing me off. There he goes, and then he left. The Tatum stuff is crazy because they're not going to get any sort of credit until they win, and that's what it comes down to. And like, yes. I think when you looked at, even though, you know, I like Luka, it finished 2nd or 3rd in the MVP voting. Shea, where he finished 3rd, Shea finished 2nd. And then like, yes, they don't have. It's not one of those 3 guys. Like, okay, yes, you're right. Tatum is not one of those 3 guys. But because of like what we've seen from them from the last 8 years or whatever it was, where they make a run, but they don't go the whole way. And we've just become accustomed to seeing them lose in the conference finals or the finals, that no one's going to give them any sort of credit until they win. That's just truly what it's come down to. I also think the bigger conversation around Tatum has nothing to do with his basketball. I don't think he's as cool as some of these other guys. I think that's the problem.
Well, I agree with that.
I don't think any, and that is why everyone's just going, oh, dude sucks. And it's just because his commercial sucked. His Subway commercial sucked. I agree with everybody on that. But I mean, his numbers have been great this year. And if they had gone through, you know, Miami and then like a Milwaukee or a Philly, I think maybe or even New York, I think the conversations would be a little bit different. But because they played, you know, I mean, because of who they've beaten and who has been available in the Eastern Conference, they're not going to give them credit. And I've already seen everybody constructing the arguments that like, if they do win, they've been one of the greater favorites in the last like 25 years in a final situation, and they're going up against a 5 seed, right? So everybody, even if they win, that people are just going to be like,
3rd highest favorite all time, basically.
Yeah.
I heard that on Simmons this morning, got him preparing for our show today, and I was like, holy shit, like that's incredible.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be, given the record and the net rating and the overall point differential. Like, everything that we know about this team says they're historically great, and yet people still doubt. Like, there was like such heavy doubts about who and what this team is. I think it's kind of funny because it's like, well, you know, I don't trust them, I think, is what a lot of the offensive analysis comes down to. And by the
Yeah.
way, just as an aside on the Jaylen Brown front, because I know I mentioned JB as well, like he has crushed the Mavs this year.
Yeah.
He's been really good. And if they throw Kyrie Irving on them, he's toast. Like, so just to throw the stats out there, these were the two matchups. He shot it's 34 points, three boards, 4 assists on 59% shooting in the pre-deadline game. And then 25, 7, and 5 on 53% shooting post-deadline. Now, the post-deadline game's weird for those that haven't watched that one. Because it is post-deadline, but like Josh Green is starting. They don't have their full starting lineup. So
Gafford played like 5 minutes in that second game.
Exactly.
But Kyrie's not covering Jaylen Brown. Like, I mean, they have other guards. Like, so
Kyrie was the main guard in that game.
Yeah, I'm saying in this series, there's no way. Why would you put Kyrie, like when you have Derek White and Drew Holiday out there? Like, there's no way Kyrie is going to be on JB, and they're just too wiry now to like even attempt that. Like the fact that they do have Derek Jones Jr. out there and PJ, like, and I'm not even saying those, like Derek Jones Jr. I think is an excellent defender. I don't know if PJ can have the ability to slow down either one of those two guys, but I would imagine that is the way that they attack it. I think and then I wonder if like the offense, if they try to funnel some stuff through Derek White and Drew Holiday early on because of Kyrie, or run some action through them to try to see if the Mavs switch on it. But I think I've kind of landed on like just some big picture on this series too. Oh yeah, that's crazy. Maddie Harrison in the chat just reminding everybody that Ayton went first and Bagley went second.
Tough look for our guy Chewy Wolf over here, man. That's brutal. I don't know if
dude, the fucking
chat,
Kings, man.
man.
I think I've kind of landed on this, where if this is like 5-point games in the last 4 minutes of each game, that is where I think the real test will be. I think if the Celtics are able to sustain leads of like 8 to 12 or whatever, I'll feel very confident that the Celtics can win this series. I'm more concerned about these last like three minutes of a game where the Mavs are built to create good shots and make tough shots with who they have and Luka and Kyrie. And that has been the Achilles heel for the Celtics. And I know they had 4 clutch games in that series against 3 of the 4 were clutch games or crunch time, whatever the fuck the stat is, against the Pacers.
Minimal actual minutes, like the sample size in the playoffs is pretty small.
But it's really hard to look at those and be like, oh, well, their crunch time offense looked really great when they took down the Indiana Pacers without Tyrese Halliburton. Like, it's hard to get too excited about it. So I think that, to me, is where the series will be won on losses in those last few minutes, because I don't see a world where the Celtics are just running them out the gym. And it's going to be like, how are they able to execute offensively? I still think the defense is going to be there, because I think they are like a top tier defensive team, especially with Porzingis coming back, and all signs are pointing to him being healthy. But to me, that's where this kind of gets won and lost. Like, can the Celtics execute in a 4-minute offense in the fourth quarter?
Two quick things. We're gonna get to I'm gonna jump in crunch time pretty heavy in a second. But who do you think they stick Luka on?
Defensively, I imagine Drew, right? Do they or one of White? Like, I imagine Luka and Kyrie are covering or those 2 guards, because I mean, not that they are. Oh, go ahead.
So mechanically, the way that's going to work, they're going to put Luka in action all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be like, hey, remember the same thing we did to Tyrese Halliburton before he got hurt? Cool,
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do that times 10. We are going to put Luka in action every single time. You're going to see guard screens and put Luka in action and test him out defensively. Luka's gotten a lot of positive reviews about what he's done defensively in these playoffs, but a lot of it have been against lower competition in terms of what he's been asked to do defensively.
Mm-hmm.
He has not been asked to guard the kind of shooters that the Celtics have. And I think when the Celtics go guard screen, or even if they go like go screen with Porzingis, I know this is going a little nerdy here, but like they're really going to put Luka in actions. And part of their strategy is we're going to try to tire him out on the defensive end so that he is not as productive on the offensive end.
Yeah. A
lot of teams have done this to him, so it's not surprising. But I do think like that is almost certainly what Joe Mazzulla and company are going to do. Do you have any thoughts on like how they get there? Like whether like how those actions are going to work? But I think the more important thing is like, do you think it works?
Yeah,
as,
I mean, well,
as a thought process.
I think they have to do it. I think they have to. I think Luka and Kyrie should be put in the most actions possible, if only because they are a strong defensive team. And I think Luka and Kyrie they've both been playing like solid defensively. But if those are your weaker spots defensively, you have to continue to do it. And just like try to, even if that's just to wear them out offensively later in the game or later in the series, right? Just like make them work on both ends. And I think that is where the Celtics have a little bit of an advantage, where they just have more guys that can do some stuff, right? Like you can have Jalen take over a quarter. We've seen Derek White knock down 4 threes in a quarter, right? Like you have different options for them to annihilate you offensively. Where I do think, I know we saw PJ go ham in the first couple of games in the OKC series, but he's like come back to earth a little bit. And I think most of the work this isn't a hot take, but most of the work from Dallas has to be done through Luka and Kyrie. And so like, I think just trying to wear them down the best you can is the way that you approach that. So yeah, I mean, I imagine they have them in actions like early and often. I also wonder, kind of like thinking about, Lively and Gafford have both been like so important for Dallas on both ends, right? Like I think Lively, the way that he's been rim running and like the offensive board battling he's been doing, and what he was able to do defensively too. And Gafford, we saw Gafford make so many big plays. I do wonder though, like with Porzingis back and the way that he is able to stretch that floor to a far greater extent than Minnesota was able to do with Rudy. I wonder how that impacts them defensively with Porzingis out there and stretching it a bit.
So on the KP defense stuff, we can jump into some of the Dallas defensive. Where I do have one last thing on the Celtics offense, but we'll get back to it a little later. Yeah, look, as far as the Dallas bigs, I think it's one of the most difficult questions to answer, right? Because on one hand, if you're the Celtics, the Celtics' positive view is like, well, their 3-point shooting makes it difficult to play both of them on the floor,
right?
Ultimately, right? Because you're going to stretch it out. You're going to put basically try to force one of them to be off the floor, probably Gafford. I do not think this is a Gafford series. Spoiler for our live before lock friends, I would not play Gafford this series personally. But the Mavs-centric view is pretty simple. It's, find those two guys cutting for alley-oops. Luka and Kyrie are going to play make off pick and rolls. They're going to put Porzingis in particular in pick and rolls. They're going to test out that soleus strain and be like, "Oh, you think you're healthy? Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's see." And
I even think if he was healthy, they would still do that, right? Like that's probably the best way to attack.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think out of all of their guys, people made fun of Gobert being put on switches. One of the things the Celtics did late in the year, and I think this actually cost them the game against Atlanta, they switched everything in that
right.
game.
I mean, Mazzulla said that because I remember this. When they lost those back-to-back games against Atlanta, Mazzulla basically showed his hand a little bit, being like, these games don't matter. Like, we are seeing what we can do. And I remember I think it was the game DeJounte went nuts. But
DeJounte went 40 points on 40 shots. Basically.
Yeah. And Joe was saying after the game, he was like, let's see how KP can handle the point guard. Like, if he gets switched onto him, how can he handle him? So, yeah, they were definitely doing that.
And I think that is some of what we're going to see. Like, the Celtics defensively, they messed around with the zone. They have a 2-3 zone they're going to throw out there. So they may do that for some of the KP minutes as well. They're going to do that. Some of that maybe in some of the Al Horford minute too. Shout out Al Horford. Happy birthday to the big guy.
Happy birthday to Al.
Turning 38 today. Hope his knees are feeling not as creaky as mine are.
Yeah.
But man, we old. But look, they're going to run him in pick and rolls. And then I wonder... I think Lively's health is still somewhat of a question. He said he feels fine in his presser yesterday. We'll see. I think the Celtics are going to probably put him in a lot of actions too, depending on what happens on the offensive end. One thing, Mike, that I've thought a lot about over the last couple of days, and this is, just the way my brain works in terms of watching this stuff, corner threes are going to be a really big part of this matchup, like on both sides.
Yeah. Well, and the Celtics were the best defenders of the corner three this season, right? Didn't opposing teams shoot like 20-something% because they just ran them. They ran them off.
Well, no. So in the playoffs so far, their teams are shooting 25% right now.
Okay.
On corner threes. which is an absurd stat and
Yeah.
like fully not sustainable. A lot of that is just based on the amount of games they've played. But like in the playoffs alone, PJ and Derek Jones Jr. have shot over 40% on corner threes.
Mm-hmm.
PJ shot 41% on 4 attempts a game. Like
Right.
they are just feasting off Luka getting into the paint, drawing 2, and
Mhm.
immediately hitting a
Cooking.
corner 3. Now, PJ shot a little worse in the Western Conference Finals than he did in the semis.
Well, and they
But
did a much better job of not allowing him to get those corner threes, like because he was taking most of his were above the break.
And then, you know, as far as the Mavs overall, just looking at their regular season, they're first in attempts in corner threes, which makes sense given Luke and Kyrie, and they were third in makes. They made 4 threes a game on corner threes. So it's like on that front, defensively, the Celtics need to make sure, I think, play Luka one-on-one as best you can. Let him eat. He's going to score 30 a game. Look, if you're going to bet on anything, bet on Luka scoring 30 plus.
And I saw Super Carl in the chat said if we get a 7-game series and Luka averages a 30-point triple-double, but Celtics win, does he get the Finals MVP? I feel like if LeBron didn't get it that year against the Warriors, when he went nuts every single game when they
Tim
won,
Bond has to vote for him though.
Yeah.
As far as just the Celtics corner threes, which is a similar deal, the Mavs are one of the worst teams at defending the corner three. So they don't give up a whole lot above the break, which some of the Celtics do, by the way, a ton defensively. They will happily let you shoot the toughest three in basketball, but they make it a point not to let you shoot corner threes. But defensively, the Mavs really struggle there. So they've given up the second most attempts and fifth most makes. Like, when you have a team like the Celtics, that is death. So can you survive giving up corner threes to someone like, I don't know, Drew Holiday, who shoots like 60% on corner threes?
Right. Oh, well, it's so funny that this is just this is going to come down to for like the third postseason in a row. Like, can the Celtics hit threes? And because that is like their offense. They're either like the best team in the league or the most infuriating team in the league. Because they're just going to continue to chuck. They're going to continue to chuck, and that is their advantage. And they've got 5 guys on the court that can all knock them down. And it'll depending on how you feel about Tatum's 3-point shot, but that it does really feel like that's how are they going to be able to defend the corner three with Luka getting into the paint, like you said, and then their ability to knock down threes. It feels like that is how the series will go.
And it's a weird thing because, you know, with the Gafford Lively stuff, can they stretch out? Whoever is guarding Porzingis is going to have to stretch out.
Right.
And they're going to put that particular defender in actions and be like, all right, do you stay and drop and just let him shoot three? Or do you come up to the level and all of a sudden the Celtics can use Tatum and Brown to play make and get into the paint? God forbid you let Jaylen Brown get some open lanes, because that man's mid-range game has been pretty elite in these playoffs. So
yeah, he's been. I mean, JB's been awesome this postseason.
It's a weird thing. I think those are like the general like hot points for me as far as like the big picture stuff. There's the narrative stuff too. How do you feel about Kyrie going into this series? Just generally.
I feel like I'm far enough away from it now that I don't like care. I mean, I think it's fun. I think it's fun that everybody's going to be angry about it. But I don't know, man, this Mavs team has been fun. Like, if I can take my Celtics hat off for a little bit, I've enjoyed watching them. It's been fun seeing like when that offense starts humming, like you were saying, where Luke is able to get into the paint, picking like his little spots to whether he's going to go with the floater or find somebody for the corner. When Kyrie has all of a sudden been defending, when Kyrie got cooking in game 5 for a little bit, it's fun. So I don't really like. I honestly think that conversation is going to be more annoying than anything else. I hope it's fun for game 1. I hope everybody goes nuts in game 1 and yells about it for a little bit. But I really don't want to relitigate. I just am tired. I'm tired of that stuff. I don't want to relitigate all the Kyrie stuff, both his on and off the court.
Look, I think it's fine to have the sports hate stuff. Like it's fine for the sports hate of like, fuck Kyrie. I'm not with the other shit, right? I think the most appropriate response, Mike, is two white dudes from Boston. Let's be very clear on context. Is fine with saying fuck Kyrie. Just all of the other shit that a lot of Boston fans may or may not do. I'm not with that shit.
Yeah,
And
you know how like the Knicks have like fuck Trae Young chants? That's fine. You can lean into that. Lean into that if you want. I just don't want to do this for 7 games.
No. Well, here's the other thing. Luka's going to be a bigger villain. Let me just tell you right now.
Well, right, because he's just gonna because of how he plays and how he bitches.
Like Luka will manufacture shit. Like the amount of this Eastern European guy who is going to talk so much shit to all of these like dudes from Southie who are just going to be yelling like "fuck you, Luka."
Yeah, it's gonna be
you fucking crybaby.
but like the Dallas, and I'll be curious how Dallas handles it too, because they their home court's awesome. So I imagine there's a lot of hostility down there too. Maybe different kind of hostility. Where are you landing
towards KP? Really?
Yeah, that's true. Where are you landing? Like prediction wise on this?
Celtics in 6. I very seriously thought Celtics in 5.
Yeah. Wow.
Look, the Celtics home record is a little disturbing in the playoffs, relatively speaking. That said, I think the matchups, particularly the corner 3 stuff, I think is going to be very difficult for the Mavs. And this is going up a level, I think, for the Mavs in terms of really defending all 5 guys. Now, look, there's some stuff that we haven't fully discussed. Like the Celtics depth is not particularly great. Like Luke on Peyton Pritchard, oof, it's going to be tough. Luke on Sam Hauser, not great. But if we're just talking where I think the matchups end up being largely, I think this is going to be a shorter series than people think. That's not to say that Luka won't go crazy. Luka's going to have some monster games. And I think the narrative stuff's always going to be fun, but ultimately, this is a really dominant team. And I think if the Celtics win, we have this really special kind of thought of like where Tatum may end up here. We talked about the Tatum hate to start. Keith, I've watched a lot of Mavs this year. Like we can go back and check our playback. We've watched a lot of games this year. But like to me, he could win a Finals MVP, win an Olympic gold, and then all of a sudden sign the biggest contract in NBA history.
Yeah, and until the next guy signs it. That's my favorite thing about these contracts right now. Is like it's and everybody's next one is the biggest one. Yeah, I don't really know. Yeah, Tatum could be. I mean, this could be an incredible run for Tatum. I still feel like people won't give him the credit he deserves unless this goes. I think if this goes like whether it's a short series or a long series, if they are able to execute down the stretch, I think they will start getting credit. Like they're going to have to win close games in the last few minutes of the fourth quarter, and they'll get credit. I don't know. I'm wondering if it takes the Celtics a minute to adjust to the level of play, because you were saying that about Dallas, and I mean this is a much bigger jump from Boston than it is for Dallas and the talent that they played against. Because again, it can't be. And that's not to take away from the talent of the Celtics team, but it can't be overstated. Like the Miami Heat without Jimmy Butler and everybody and Terry Rozier and the rest of their squad, the Cavs without Mitchell for a couple of games, without Jared Allen, and then the Pacers for half of the series without Halliburton. Like go from that to what Dallas has been doing from the trade deadline on, how they have run through the West pretty much seamlessly.
Isn't the counter, Mike, that it's not like, okay, I would hear that argument better if you were talking about a team that had never gone through this. Like the Celtics have been through wars. Sure. They've been doing this for 6 out of the last 8 years, basically.
Yeah.
And they've gone really far, and they've played a bunch of elite teams throughout that time span. They know what is expected of them. Hell, they've played in the NBA Finals. So, I think they fully understand what is in front of them. I get the point of being like, yeah, the path wasn't great. But, honestly, the path wasn't great for Denver last year, and they rolled.
Sure.
So,
I think the Celtics just have more baggage with them. I think
Sure.
the Celtics have
Oh,
more baggage.
they have a ton of baggage.
Yeah.
They're like they're still thinking about their exes from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You
I
know, I
I
think that's where it gets tough.
Yeah, I have a tough time. I've had a really tough time like deciding where I want to go with the prediction. Where I think I'm leaning Celtics in 7. I think I just think Luca is going to win 2 games by himself. I really do. I think he's just so good, and I'll happily be wrong. As again, I will be rooting for the Celtics, but I just think the way Dallas can defend. I wonder. I just those bench minutes are going to be tough. Although bringing Porzingis back, I think maybe that obviously shores up the bench a little bit. So maybe you're not playing Al 40 minutes again. Um,
You're also not getting Luke Cornett minutes.
yeah, no Luke Cornett minutes, and then you can, yeah. So I will be. I think the bench minutes will be tough. I like that question too. I sorry I missed this earlier, Carl. He says which second option has the better series, Brown or Kyrie? I just think Brown's matchup's going to be a little bit easier to attack than Kyrie's. Although I mean, I'm sure Kyrie has like 2 or 3 games that are insane, and so does Jaylen Brown. So I don't think you're going wrong either way there.
It's a good
But yeah.
question. I think Kyrie's ceiling is higher,
Mm-hmm.
but I think Brown's floor is better and more consistent, just
Mm-hmm.
because of the matchups.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's gonna be very difficult for, particularly given Kyrie's record against Celtics. Here's a fun fact: Kyrie's 0 for his last 10 against Celtics.
Yeah, I remember seeing that he's performed
Like
pretty
that's
poorly.
that's a. Do you know how difficult that is in the NBA to lose 10 straight times against a team?
Yeah. Well,
Like
that Brooklyn Nets
true.
squad was tough.
Yeah.
But Jamie too. I meant to bring that up earlier. I do wonder if we see a little bit more Maxi Kleber in the series for a couple reasons. He's just healthier now. Like he's had more time to get right. I think that rest is going to come up big. But also for that very reason of the way that KP can stretch the floor. I think somebody like Maxi has the ability to stay in front of KP, but also equally stretch the floor. So I'm going to be fascinated how Kidd approaches it. Oh, there we go. Spoonie. We get a Spooner sighting. Greg Dunbar's friend Spoonie. He says, I don't know how much Kleber we will see this series, but if he's out there without Lively or Gafford, Cease will need to attack the rim. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what they're going to do. If Maxi's on the floor, they're going to attack him in rotation and try to. His whole reason for being out there defensively is it allows you to have either one of Gafford or Lively on the floor, like closer to the rim. He'll probably that particular center, whichever one it is, will guard like Drew and be basically near the dunker spot or a little above, and basically just try to rim protect as best you can with Maxi on the floor. But if you get him in rotation, it gets a little messier. Oh, Keith, we will happily attack Maxi.
I do think too, one thing that, and we kind of touched upon it at the beginning, like we are assuming that Porzingis is healthy, and I know he's like back at, and I know he's back at practice, and it seems like he's doing regular stuff with the team. But with dudes like that, especially with somebody with the injury history that he has, I mean, that is asking a lot for him to come back and then play big minutes. So, I do think they were cautious with him on purpose. I think he probably could have come back earlier and not do that. I don't comment. I mean, I think comparing what Porzingis did for you guys with Dallas and the way that he was used there is so different than the way that he is used in Boston. So I don't really, I mean, I get what you're saying. I also know you're a Dallas fan, so I get it. But
do you think Dallas switches everything? Do you think they stay in drought? Do you think they go, they've done some zone stuff? They did zone in that second game, which is weird.
Yeah. I bet they throw a bunch of different looks. I bet they start off switching just about everything. And then, and because I mean, Lively did. Well, I remember when Lively's gotten switched, he's been so good, man. I feel like he almost needs to be talked about more because he has been, for him to come in as a fucking rookie. They trade for Gafford, he moves to the bench, and then for him to just continue to thrive. He's been clearly their best big too. Like the fact that when Minnesota took Game 4. And everyone's like, oh, man, well, hopefully Lively's back without Lively. Like, the fact that they were banking on this, like, rookie big But he has been so good. And yeah, Common Man too. I do think they have a little bit of an advantage on that, at least from the defensive side of coaching. And I'm very hesitant to give Jason Kidd any credit. But he really has like pulled a lot of strings, and the way that like appropriately the second half of the year. And he does seem to have like a good finger on the pulse of what is needed from them, at least defensively.
It's funny though. Like, so I think the coaching matchup slightly favors Dallas. Joe's a great coach. I think the funny thing about the Missoula stuff is there's a lot of baggage, not just from the team perspective, but the coaching perspective.
Right.
I think there's a lot of people who look at Missoula as that same guy from last year who was super inept, struggled with calling timeouts, had a poor feel for the game, frankly, and was a first-year head coach and looked like it. And I think in his second year, he has looked significantly better. His feel for the game, his ability for when to call timeouts, his feel for his rotations. We haven't seen anything like super glaring in terms of process stuff. Maybe like his insistence to play Al longer minutes, I think has been annoying for Celtics fans. But like other than that, I think Joe's actually been pretty good. I did see Jake Fisher this week on his podcast No Cap Room with Dan Devine say something interesting. I'm gonna see if I can get him on, sneak him on this week. I know he's kind of busy, but we'll see what we can do. But he said that a lot of the league doesn't fuck with Joe, which I was like, and he said fuck, which I was like, oh,
really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's insane. He's a crazy person. Like, I think that makes sense. If there was somebody who is like 32 or 30, however old he is,
he's the youngest head coach to make the final since Bill Russell.
And he does say crazy
weird shit.
Yeah, yes. Like, I mean, like we're all a villain in someone's eyes. Like he speaks like someone who just studied like Heath Ledger's career. Like that, he just says crazy stuff nonstop. So I get it. I mean, in his own team, I don't think liked him. Like I think it took a little while for him to warm up.
Yeah, so, like he's a weirdo. But the other thing that Jake said in the pod, he was like, look, there are a lot of people like league wide that don't fuck with him. But what I will say is very clearly those guys have bought into what he is selling in terms of being in the moment, understanding the moment, and understanding that this doesn't happen very regularly.
You know what else helps? Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Drew Holiday, 4 of your 5. You know what I'm saying? And Porzingis, excuse me. That helps. That helps. You have Drew Holiday who comes in going from a guy that had to like run the offense on a championship caliber team to now being like, hey man, we just need you to play defense and knock down your wide open threes that you're going to get. All of a sudden, like the pressure that was on these guys is alleviated. And so I think that is also part of it. Like they clearly have the most talent in the league on one roster. They don't have a top 4 guy on their team, but they like when you look at the sum of their parts, they are far better than any other roster constructed. So I do think it's a little bit easier to buy in when like Derek White and Drew Holiday are happily like, oh yeah, if I got the shot, I'll take it, but we don't have to force it, you know?
Can I give you a bad football comparison that has stuck in my head all week?
Yeah.
The what was it? The 16-1 Patriots.
The one that
or 18-1, sorry.
Yeah. The one that lost in the Super Bowl. So you think that they're going to lose? Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean, look, I firmly believe they're going to win. But if you look at the number of being a favorite, it's not that different, like projectively, than what the Giants were versus the way the Mavs are being projected. It's not that different, relatively speaking.
Yeah. No.
And like it's now the Patriots at the time were a more dominant team. And people had more faith in that team, but like in terms of historical dominance, that's the
comp.
That's the comp, I think.
That's a fun one. Yeah, fuck Eli Manning. I'm with that. A couple things too. Let me just catch up with Patrick's comment. He said, "Doesn't the NBA change up the order?" No, it still goes. I mean, they change up the off days, but it's still, I think, because it's like Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday. I think our games 1, 2, and 3. But they'll go 2 in Boston, 2 in Dallas, and then 1, 1, 1. They used to do 2, 3, 2, and then, but in the 80s, I think the media was so pissed off having to fly between Boston and LA so many times that that's why they switched it to 2, 3, 2. But no, it's been 2, 2-2, 1-1-1-1 for a while, I think. But yeah, so that is what we'll have for that. Weisberg, do you see the pick here is Celtics in 6 for you, right? And any other final takes that you want to get off before we wrap up this portion of the show this morning?
No, I'm excited for your Caitlin Clark fever takes because I've seen your back and forth on Twitter both yesterday and today, so I know it's gonna be a little spicy the remainder of the morning. But no, otherwise feel good. Watch us on playback. If you're gonna be watching the games this week, I see a visitor in the chat, man. Hit join member. Come hang out with us. We'll be in a really good place for all of these games. We'll see if I can get some guests. We're working on stuff, but like ultimately, the finals is gonna be fun. Like, whether it's just me, you, and Snapes, or we get some guests and we can figure some stuff out. Like, this is going to be a really fun next 3 weeks. I'm hoping it's shorter for all of our sakes, but we're gonna have a good time this week.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks, Weisberg, for jumping on too. Appreciate you getting up early for it. All right, so also go to Weisberg's thread. You feel free to share that again, Weisberg, in the chat. I know you shared that earlier. All right, a couple things that we're gonna do. I want to talk a little So Rare here in a second, and then maybe poke around an underdog. We'll take a look at some pickups and stuff like that. But the first thing, everybody saw the clip of it was like Chennedy Carter giving Caitlin Clark a shove. And then I just think the dialogue around the W is so bad, which I think is a good thing. I think it is so bad now with everybody having just terrible takes that it is officially on its way to mainstream, because that's how you know we're heading in a positive direction, is that people are saying insane shit. You have people who barely watch the games, just kind of like how Stephen A. Smith talks about basketball. We know he barely watches the games. Shout out Quentin Grimes, who he referred to as playing. We need him to step up for the Knicks while he had been on the Pistons for a couple of months. But the takes are just insane. We have people out there being like, we have to protect the asset. Caitlin Clark is an asset to the WNBA. We have to protect the asset. What are we talking about? Like, in what world are we hoping for the people on the opposing teams? For fucking a decade now, people have been like, AAU has ruined basketball. Everybody's friends with everybody. I remember in the 80s, we had the Bad Boys where Bill Laimbeer was throwing clotheslines. What happened with that? That's like what we're seeing right now. It feels like the expectation is they want people to go out there and they want the opposing team, like last night, they would want Breanna Stewart to go down, give her a hug. Caitlin Clark, thank you so much for everything you do. We wouldn't be out here without you. Thank you, the Father, the Son, the Caitlin, the Clark, right? That's how they want them to approach everybody. No, that's bullshit. If there's any sort of criticism you could make right now, or you want to have a good take, and shout out Ross, who is, former Top Shot and Ballers great, who is now doing play-by-play for the New York Liberty games. She mentioned on Twitter that the only thing that they should be talking about is why weren't the Fever teammates going and picking her up right away? Or where's the enforcer? That's a take I'm here for. I'm ready to have that conversation. But God, for everybody that goes out there and be like, I wouldn't even be watching without Caitlin Clark. Shut the fuck up. What are you talking? Like, that's fine. That's fine. But like, if you just want everybody hugging everybody, can you imagine the dialogue around that if that happened? Oh, I can't watch women's sports. Everybody's just hugging. They don't have that dog in them. And instead, somebody actually hit somebody. And then they called it a flagrant foul. And then people were like, oh, now they're protecting Caitlin. They're called it a flagrant. There was a fucking flagrant foul. We should be yelling at the refs weren't able to call the flagrant when it happened. That's it, though. We watched Draymond Green kick LeBron in the nuts in the NBA Finals. We were talking about that 10 years later. Anyways, all of that to say is I think the WNBA is mainstream now. I think we made it. I think it's happening now. I think we're here. I think people are excited about it. But yeah, man, everybody that's gone out there and tweeting being like, if I'm the WNBA, I'm making sure nobody puts a hand on Caitlin Clark. You remember when Wemby got drafted and everybody was like, oh, dude, these guys are going to go after that French fuck. They're going to try to throw it down on him. Nobody was like, oh, Wemby. Like, nobody, you know what I'm saying? And people being like, oh, I thought Caitlin Clark was going to come in and change the league. She got drafted by the worst team in the league. This is what happens when you get a first pick. You get drafted by a shit team. Oh, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. Anyways, I just need that was driving me nuts. Speaking of which, the Liberty smoked the Fever last night. Also, one other Fever thing, and shout out our guy Jay Catch who pointed that out. The Fever have played I think, let me actually just pull it up, but they've played double the amount of games as almost everybody else through a few games into the season. So the Sun are in first place, they're 8-0. The Aces have played 6 games. They're 4-2. The Fever have played 11, almost double the amount of games. 2-9. What is going on? Stupid. Also, you know what? I saw Weisberg. You did share this. We will watch this. We will watch this. Cameron, we got to watch this. It's a minute 18. This will probably get us demonetized on YouTube, but this is great. I sent this to the 89 Cavs this morning. All right, can you guys see this? Okay, you can. Let's listen in. This is the response. Here we go. Hold on. Make sure this is all the way up.
Out the cramp cams, pussy on a handstand, but fuck wrong with Ant-Man. Gave him his props. Homie got love from me. New commercial, y'all ain't got love from me. He shot a jump shot and said, fuck buddy. The receipt reader looking like your fuck buddy. And trust buddy, I ain't one to judge buddy. Buddy sitting there glazing at you like a love hubby. This lost luck, listen here, I'm bossed up. Kyrie Irving with this shit, don't get crossed up. Shooters, pardon, that's just my own thoughts. Luka, I send you home on your home court. Get him a Uber, I don't know what y'all thought. Adidas, I'm blaming you, this is your fault. Campaign about to go strong, y'all think y'all got the b-ball version of Kanye? Come on, stop it, dude. Y'all just stop it through. He do something y'all don't like, you'll drop him too. Fucking careers up. T-Mac, Derrick Rose, RG3, John Wall, let him know. Reggie Bush, Amon Shumpert, I'm on the roll. You know Kevin Red, Google what was on his toes. Whoa, you wearing them bullshits? No. Jim Jones ad-libs. Yo, Nitro, hype, yo, light show, might flow, nice clothes, white nose, whoa. Gotta be sniffing, man. It's all fucking mine.
Gotta be sniffing, man, is a great line. I think this is the only good podcast. I think that's what I would say. That is the only good podcast. I think we should all be tuning into that. It was excellent. Excellent shit. I'm here for it. That's great. Great way to start the week. All right. Real quick, I'm sure some of you guys saw this on Twitter, but before I left in the So Rare streets, before I left for Massachusetts, we had a decent sweat going on where my squad was bumping. My Rare Contender squad was bumping. My only concern was Kyrie had a pretty bad game, right? We had Nembhard drop 60 and Al drop 36. Then we got 24 from Anderson and 41 from Gafford, but Kyrie had only dropped 24, which was brutal. But then Kyrie, while I'm sitting there listening to the Stones, I've got the phone out and I'm just checking. I'm like, ooh, another Kyrie bucket. Let's check the standings. And the standings were first, baby. The standings were first. First place, Kyle Anderson, Daniel Gafford, Kyrie Irving, Al Horford. We dropped 223 on him. When you check that leaderboard, we ended up winning by 4 full points over Snowflake. So take that, you lib. So we take down first place. And our winner, chicken dinner. This is what we won, baby. Victor Wembanyama. Wemby, welcome aboard, baby. So that was a pretty sick pull. I was pumped about that. I actually, I forget, Crocodile Dundee, or I forget that guy's name, who won the Rare Champ, was mad because I got the Wemby and he got a Jokic. I think he already had a Jokic too, so he's a little bit pissed. Well, Weisberg was saying, were you expecting Wemby? I figured it was either Wemby. I knew Wemby was a possibility. I assumed it was either Wemby or Luka or a Jokic. It was funny. Part of me was like, oh, do I want Luka? But no, I wanted Wemby. I was really excited about this. Somebody's asked, I think there's only, oh, wait, one other thing about this. So this, as you can see, was the 50th one, as you can see right here, 50 out of 100, which means we're probably not getting the full 100, right? If we're at the last, like, because they're going to stop auctions soon if they haven't already. So that's kind of sick that there's only been a handful of them, which means heading into next season, there's only going to be a handful available for play. So I was pretty excited about that. Somebody was asking how much are they going for right now. Let's see. I actually haven't looked at this yet. Although there we go. It looks. I thought I saw that one was. Wow, none are available. Interesting. So there's none on the market right now. Interesting. Yeah, people were asking, are you planning on selling it or not? I think I'm just gonna hold it. Because I imagine I could probably get. Let's actually go back. Can we see recent sales on that card? Let's see. All right, so May 24th was the last one, was 1376. I mean, that's pretty sick. That is pretty sick. I think I'm just gonna hold on to it though. And then going to look at let's go look at where we are here. I think I jumped up a little bit in the limited contender chase here. We're at the 286th right now, which I think is the tier 3. Yeah, tier 3, and we are about 50 points off from jumping up here. And I was able to put together a lineup so far that had Kyrie, Gafford, White, Hauser, and Josh Green. Don't really love it. And then the rare contender, after winning that one, we've jumped to 133rd, excuse me, but we're still we're 13 spots off from a rare contender, a tier 5, excuse me. How many points off am I? Just 20. So I don't know. Maybe we can jump on there. Yeah, that's true. I'm team hold. You have to hold on to Wemby. Flip City for 1850. I don't know. I kind of want to hold it. We'll see. We'll see where I'm at. If I start seeing like a bunch of sales, then maybe. But on the So Rare side of things, I said this at the top of the show. We're going to do a big show on Wednesday. On Wednesday evening, we're going to do a big show, and we will I think, and just, don't quote me on this, but I was talking to my buddies over at So Rare. I think they're going to give us a bunch of stuff to give away. So obviously, I think we're just like 1 or 2 members away from giving away that Kyrie. So hopefully we can do that on Wednesday. We'll give away some other stuff as well, because that is going to be the last show of the last live before lock, of the year. We're going to start an off-season show that'll be like once a week that we'll fire up. Once the finals get going, just to like how to approach the offseason and stuff like that. So, but Wednesday night, get ready for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then we're not going to do a pick 'em today, actually, just because we'll wait till we get a little bit closer. I don't want to pick one yet. But we're going to go over to Underdog here just for a second. And we did get one team into the finals right here. You can see we had a second place finish, a couple third place finishes, but our one team here, and we won by a lot. We won our group by a lot. So we move on to the finals where we won 400 for getting this team through. But it had Luka, Ant, Kyrie. It also had Siakam on this squad, PJ, and Rudy. So that means we just have 3 guys left in this team. So Luka, Kyrie, and PJ heading in. But as you'll see in a lot of these guys, teams that won groups, they only have like 2 or 3 guys left, and there's a lot of Minnesota teams that are dead. So I do think this will actually, I don't think it's going to cook completely, but making it to the finals is pretty sick. This ended up being a profitable run, so that's kind of fun. So shut it, Underdog. We're going to start doing some football, best ball content too as we head into the offseason. So that's where we're at, guys. We're back, though. I hope everybody had a good weekend. Thank you for letting me take a couple days off, but we're back. We're back to business. Back to 5 days a week, baby. I might do something a little bit this afternoon if I'm bored. Yeah, we get the Summer League shirt. Get ready. Get ready for July 11th to the 14th. But yeah, I think we're going to call it there. I'm excited for the finals to get underway. Too many days off. I enjoyed the weekend. Right about now, I could use a basketball game. I could use an NBA finals game is what I could use. But that's going to do it. I hope everybody has a great rest of the day. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I'm going to end the YouTube stream. Thanks for watching over there. And over on Playback,